Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Education AI Parixes. Let me start with a question that quietly haunts every classroom. Have you ever taught a topic well, explained it clearly, felt the lesson go beautifully, and then watched your student underperform in the exam? Most teachers blame the students. Some blame the paper. Very few suspect the real culprit. Which is this: the parts of our teaching were never actually pointing in the same direction. Today, I want to introduce you to one of the most powerful ideas in education. It is called constructive alignment, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The idea comes from an educationist named John Biggs, who noticed something simple but profound. In most courses, three things are designed separately by three different logics. The curriculum is driven by content, what must be covered. Teaching is driven by transmission, what the teacher wants to explain. And assessment is driven by convenience, what is easy to mark. Three components, three separate minds, no conversation between them. And then we wonder why learning leaks. Biggs proposed a different way. He said, do not start with the content. Do not start with your lecture. Start with the outcome. Ask one question first. By the end of this lesson, this unit, this course, what should my students actually be able to do? Notice the word do, not know, not understand. Those words are too soft. You cannot see them. Biggs wanted verbs you can observe. Can the students analyze the poem? Can she solve a problem? Can she justify a decision, design an experiment, evaluate an argument? These are what we call intended learning outcomes. In a constructive alignment, everything is built backward from them. So, the first pillar is your outcomes, the learning outcomes. This is your destination. If you do not name the destination clearly, no road will take you there. The second pillar is your teaching and learning activities. And here is what most of us go wrong. We ask students to do one thing in the class, then expect them to perform a completely different thing in the exam. If your outcome says the student should be able to analyze, but your entire lesson is your talking and the students copying, when exactly did they practice analyzing? They did not. You practiced, they watched, and you cannot learn a skill by watching someone else to perform it. This is the constructive part of constructive alignment. It rests on the simple truth about how learning works. Students build understanding through what they do, not through what we transmit. Learning happens in their activity, not in our explanation. So, if the outcome is a verb, the classroom must let student rehearse the verb. Outcome says evaluate, then give them something to evaluate. Outcome says argue, then make them argue. The teaching must be a rehearsal of the outcome. And the third pillar is assessment. Here Biggs made the sharpest observation, and I want you to sit with it because it explains so much of what goes wrong in our schools. Biggs said that students do not read your syllabus to find out what matters. They read your assessment, show me your exam, and I will show you what your students will actually learn. The assessment, not your stated aim, becomes the real curriculum. Think about what this means. You may write critical thinking at the top of your course plan, You may say it in every class. But if your exam only rewards memorized definitions, your students who are not foolish will do the intelligent thing. They will stop thinking and start memorizing. Not because they are lazy, but because you rewarded memorizing. The assessment quietly overruled your intention. And this happens in thousands of classrooms every single day, invisibly. So now you can see the whole picture. Three pillars: outcomes, which name what students should be able to do, teaching, which lets them practice doing it, and the assessment, which checks whether they can actually do it. When these three are aligned, when they all name the same verb, the same skill, the same destination, something remarkable happens. The student faces a consistent word. The smartest way to pass is to engage in exactly the learning you intended. Effort and learning finally point the same way. But when even one pillar falls out of line, the whole system leaks. Imagine a beautiful lesson and a clear outcome, but an exam that tests something else. The exam wins. Imagine a perfect exam and clear outcomes, but teaching that never lets student practice. The teaching fails then. Each piece may look fine on its own. It is the alignment between them that produces learning or destroys it. Let me make this concrete. Suppose your outcome is that student can interpret a data table. Aligned teaching would put the tables in front of them and have them interpret it in pairs with feedback. Aligned assessment would give them a new table and ask them to interpret it. Now, look at the misaligned version. The outcome says interpret, but you teach by reading the textbook aloud, and you assess by asking students to define the word table. Three pillars, three directions. The student who memorized definitions scores full marks, cannot read a single graph. You have certified the wrong thing. This is why constructivist alignment is not fancy theory for researcher. It is a practical discipline for every teacher and every school leader. It gives us a checklist we can use tomorrow morning. First, write your outcomes as verbs you can see. If you cannot observe it, you cannot teach toward it or assess it. Second, look at your lesson and ask, where in the class does the student actually practice that verb? If the answer is nowhere, redesign the activity, not the explanation. Third, look at your assessment and ask the hardest question of all. Does this test reward exact thing I claim to value, or does it secretly reward something easier? Because whatever your assessment rewards is what your student will truly learn. For those of us leading the schools, this idea scales up. When you review a department, do not look at the three parts separately. Look at whether they talk to each other. A school where outcomes, teaching, and assessment are aligned is a school where effort turns into learning. A school where they are misaligned is a school full of hard work that quietly goes to waste. So here is the thought I want you to live with. Good teaching is not three good pieces. It is three pieces that agree. The outcome you name, the practice you provide, and the test you set must tell the student the same story. Align them, and learning follows almost by itself. Leave them out of step, and no amount of effort will save the lesson. Start with outcome, teach the verb, assess the same verb. This is constructive alignment, and that is how curriculum teaching, and assessment finally begin to work together. Thank you for watching. Keep on watching and join and subscribe to our channel Education AI Parixes.